Are you ready to create a life you crave? Let's spin that doom loop of negativity into an upward success cycle and start living lucky.
Good morning.
I'm Jana.
I'm Jason.
And we are living lucky.
You are too.
Every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better.
In every way.
Oh, that's even better. Oh, affirmations. We're talking about affirmations today.
I'm a beautiful, amazing ray of light.
No, it's beautiful and bright. I'm a radiant being of light.
Oh, I like it.
Beautiful and bright. I'm a radiant being of light.
I'm
Beautiful and bright. I'm a radiant being of light. It helps if you can get like a little
cadence going.
Sing-songy. A
Yeah.
little.
I like it when we're out walking and we start that chant.
Yeah.
It's a chant formation.
You know, one time I was listening to Dolly Parton. I was listening to a little interview with her. No, not listening to her sing, even though that's probably, that would have been the logical place for me to take that. I was listening to an interview with her, and she said that when she was filming 9 to 5, she was actually filing her nails.
Oh.
And it was the
9 to 5.
Yes, it was the
very interesting.
and that when she did that, she just kind of got into a meditative state and she let her mind wander. And that was how she connected to God, and she kind of got a download in that moment. And it all just
kind of came to her.
So it's funny how when we kind of get into that cadence, that
well, that's why I like in the shower,
incantations,
the water flowing over us, or when we're out walking or jogging, which I don't do a lot of jogging, but when we go for our walks, our gratitude walks, sometimes in that silence and in those moments, that steady pacing and walking, that rhythm of the walk creates a cadence of a positive thought in my mind.
It does. You know, another example is one of my favorite movies, Dirty Dancing.
Oh, yeah.
And when they are trying to learn the rhythm, he takes her hand and he puts it on his heartbeat, and he's like, ga-gong, 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 ga-gong. And then they kind of get into the rhythm of what they're supposed to,
of the night.
Not only what they're supposed to feel, but then what they're supposed to think, and they get into that heart-mind coherence, and it kind of puts them.
And then that creates the movement.
Yes, it puts them in. I mean, I'm kind of mixing affirmations with feelings as well.
Well, when we start getting into those affirmations,
it gets them into the frequency.
Yes.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Sometimes you have to create the station that you want to listen to.
Yes, and it's all about what we think and what we feel.
And the words that we're using.
And it starts with the words we use.
Yeah.
And what I learned today, because I'm reading this fabulous book, it's called Mind Power by John Kehoe, is that we can only process one thought at a time.
That's really interesting when you brought that up, because a lot of times the reason I started meditating was because I feel like my mind wanders and I have thousands of thoughts flooding through my head all the time.
At once.
Yes.
I know. I always thought that I almost thought that I had like a schizophrenic thought pattern going on.
We talk about a lot of times that we have 6,000 thought worms a day or 60,000 individual thoughts per day. And when you put the pin in it and say, we only think one thought at the time, I was like, that's interesting. Let me look at that. Like, let me put the pin in it for myself and examine, do I believe that? And can I see it? And I did. I was like, I do see it. And then I just allow for the connections between the thoughts and the building between the thoughts. But it is one individual thought. And then I pick which thoughts I want to allow to build on.
And the other thing is, sometimes I've seen memes before that have said, you can't be grateful and angry at the same time. And I'm like, oh yeah, well, I can. And this meme is making me that. Right? I've thought that. I'm like, yeah, well, I can. And now that I know you can only process one thought at a time, I just have like this little bubble in my throat right now.
You get a bubble? Are you grateful for it? What do you think
grateful
about that bubble?
I am so grateful for this bubble. And so now that I know that, I realize, wow, that probably is true. That you can only be either grateful or annoyed or perturbed
and now you get
or
to
disturbed
pick
or angry, and you get to choose.
Yes, it's always a choice. And now we get to pick, which seed do I want to grow from?
Yes, which pipe do I want that seed to go down my throat right now? Yes, and now I really realize, wow, it's all a choice. It really is a choice.
Yeah, so when we're growing these thought worms or thought
or lassoing which thought to grab a hold of.
Yes, very big.
Because the thoughts are just thoughts going on in our head. And we get to really lasso which one. Oh, you know what? I kind of like that one. So I'm gonna lasso it and grab a hold of it, and I'm gonna anchor it.
Yeah, I really like the image of either a thought worm or a thought vine. So you can be a thought vine that grows into something productive, or a thought worm that starts kind of eating away at or decaying the things that you want.
Oh, you think of worms like that?
Well, the
because
worms
I always think of worms as like having little glasses and making you learn
studious.
Things.
See, I look at worms as composters.
Okay.
Because I think it's my
Which
reticular
again
activating
is a
system.
Positive thing, right?
It can be, yeah.
Okay.
So if we're looking at things positively, but maggots are a form of worm.
Oh gosh.
Right.
And I don't know why we think of maggots as not being
and in
that.
a composter, worms break up the soil and chew up and process.
Do y'all know
garbage.
that Mr. Jason here had a worm farm in our garage?
I wanted worms and I wanted to compost.
And we're not talking like 15 years ago. We're talking like
several months ago.
Not long ago. Yes, that was something else.
Well, the price of worms has gone up, and we have a lake right in the backyard. I wanted to fish. We had people coming to visit, and I wanted to compost, wanted to have a garden.
Yeah, and then one day I go out there, and they had fallen over, and there were worms everywhere.
And some of them had died. And so there's a lot involved in all that. The universe does a wonderful job of maintaining soil and providing for everything.
It always seems like a great idea until we get all the things.
I know, and there's professionals that do this for a living. Like that's the beauty of it.
And that's not us.
And it's not us.
We are not professional.
We travel so much and we do so many other things that's not where I want to pour my energy.
We are not professional worm growers.
Like we're not worm farmers.
Yes.
Not even vegetable farmers.
Or worm keepers.
That's right. And I'm not going to affirm myself to be that because that's not the direction I'm going in.
Okay,
It was fun to play in that little atmosphere for a while.
I'm so grateful for that.
Perfect.
That you've realized that. That we have now come to that. It was a fun
little exploratory event in my life.
For you, yes.
For me, yeah.
I'm so grateful that we've now agreed on that. Yay!
That's right.
So here's a couple things about affirmations. Now that we know that you can only have one thought at a time. One great thing about affirmations is that when you occupy your mind with an affirmation, it literally will push out any other thought that you're having.
Yeah.
So it kind of, those machines at the fair where you put in a quarter and then it kind of pushes
the quarters over the edge.
Yes, it pushes everything else out. So it will push out all the other negative thoughts because you're filling your head with the positivity.
Yes.
So here's the thing is I always thought that affirmations were kind of hoo-ha-y because I was thinking, well, what if you don't actually believe it? What if you don't actually believe it deep down? It doesn't matter. because you're filling your head with
positivity
that
with kindness, with love,
will catch and be contagious. It's like the thought worm, like you said, it will, or the thought vine, it will start growing. So you're filling your head with seeds that will start to plant.
Yeah. And if you're saying something like I'm a billionaire, and then the thought behind it is I'm lying to myself, then that's
you got to catch yourself.
Right. That your second affirmation is I'm affirming that I'm a liar. So don't do that.
Okay, yeah.
Affirm that you're abundant and that you're grateful, and affirm that you have all the resources around you to become a billionaire. Like, so look for those ways to be affirming and to build that beautiful happiness and abundance and higher vibration.
Okay, here's a couple tips from John Kehoe. Always visualize your goal as if it's actually happening to you right now in the present. Make it real in your mind. Make it detailed. Enter the role and become it in your mind. So these are tips from him. Visualize it at least once a day, each and every day. There's power in repetition. And
we talk about that a lot too.
Yes.
Like, define it so you can design it, and then keep it front of mind. Keep it front of mind often and share it. Like talk it out loud. Say it. Say these words in your head. Say them through your mouth. Say them into the world.
Yes. Okay, here we go. Here's 3 things to remember when you are doing affirmations. You don't necessarily have to believe them. In fact, anyone who's ever been unsuccessful in using affirmations has probably been trying to force themselves to do just that. This mistake can actually nullify the effects of the affirmation. Don't worry about believing, just keep repeating. If you do believe what you are affirming, great. If you don't believe it, that's fine too. It doesn't matter. The conscious mind will quite naturally pick up the content of whatever you are affirming, and the correct thoughts will seep into your consciousness. You don't have to force anything.
And the whole concept of this is beautiful because it matters what we read. It matters what we watch. It matters what we listen to, whether we're listening to like grunge music or whether we're listening to something that's uplifting, like an uplifting podcast, and just anything that raises our vibration.
Yes.
Because the words that fill the space.
Words matter.
Think about when we're in a bad mood or angry, and we go to something that enforces that feeling.
Yes.
Like when we go through a breakup, you go to breakup music, right? Something that enforces that.
Oh, I know.
That feeling. So now you're adding to that.
Mine was always "I'm a Creep, I'm an Idiot" by Radiohead, which is like the worst song ever.
And when you're going on spring break, you go to that uplifting music that gets you in party mode, that gets you excited, that gets you ready for inspiration and engagement. So when we fill that space with the language, with the vibration of the way we want to be, our bodies react in that way, and then we start having the responses and the results in that vein.
Okay, here's a couple more. Always affirm in the positive. Make a positive statement, not a negative one. For example, if you want to see a meeting go well, you wouldn't say, "I'm not going to blow this meeting." Because we've said this before, the universe...
Don't think about the pink elephant.
Doesn't... There's a negative. There's a negative there.
Yeah, you and the universe aren't going to be able to help but to think about a pink elephant.
Mm-hmm. And then the last thing is keep your affirmations short. An affirmation should be like a mantra, short and simple, easy to say and easy to repeat.
I'm beautiful and bright. I'm a radiant being of light.
Ooh, I like it. I like it. I like it, like it, like it. So this has been a great book for me. And sometimes we just need to repeat some things that we already know, and we hear them in different ways. So I have learned a few things, even as elementary as affirmations. And I mean, we say affirmations a lot to each other, but saying them to myself, has been a game changer.
Fill the space. Fill the space with something that lifts you up. And
And how many times do I say, Jason, I love you. You are so fun. You are so beautiful. Looking myself in the mirror and saying, Jana, I love you. You are so fun. You are so beautiful. That's been pretty awesome.
You are joy.
Yes. I'm a radiant being of light. I'm beautiful and bright.
I'm a radiant being of light. I'm living lucky.
That is right. That is right. Thank you so much for joining us.
Keep living lucky.
Bye-bye. If the idea of living lucky appeals to you, visit us at startlivinglucky.com.